20 tons a day of in-county trash. So where is this coming from? Have we ascertained that information? Are we allowing out-of-county waste stream into our county to then be dispersed, disposed, and otherwise sorted? That is a problem. That should not be allowed if, and this is the big one, if it is happening and being sent to John Smith Road landfill. That would be against what we were told and what was agreed upon for that landfill operation. So I know that we're not going to get any answers tonight, but I would hope that you as a board would be able to get this information and present it to the community as a whole to let us know who's using this drop-off, who's taking their waste there. We've had rumors, and it's only rumors, hearsay, so I hate to even bring it up, but there's talk about potentially having trailers switched onto other cabs so that the cab coming into our waste stream is a legal local entity. But again, that made me wonder, is that what we're talking about that's coming into this transfer station and we're changing trailers and just hauling it into John Smith? Food for thought, trash to bury that we don't need. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bridget Bowmanthorpe?
Yeah, hi, good evening. I just want to add to Maureen's comment. I mean, we know that the landfill has only a certain amount of landfill space, and we estimated maybe it lasts 10 more years. And your board already has to find a solution. What will happen if the landfill closes? At that time, if we're gonna have a transfer station, possibly. So the landfill is a vital asset to this community, to this county. It's, trash is very expensive. And I'm afraid that maybe RGR, my suspicions are that it's imported from out of county, then transferred at the transfer station, which makes it look like it's from the in-county and then going to the landfill. And I feel there needs to be accountability, and we, the residents and taxpayers, need to know the truth. And I even followed a 20-ton truck up to landfill one time, and I was told that's local. But I know that Recology only picks up our trash in these smaller trash trucks. So to me, that looks very highly suspicious. And again, you know, the landfill is a county asset, and it needs to be transparent. And like I said, the clock is ticking, 10 more years, possibly. And we need to make sure we only have trash going to the landfill that's from in-county. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then through Zoom, if you want to speak, please press *9 or the raise your hand icon. Chair, it looks like I have no more public comment in chambers or via Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, are there public comments related to the consent agenda?
No.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Or is there discussion within the commission regarding the consent agenda?
I didn't see any corrections to the minutes, so
No.
I'm good there.
I make a motion that we adopt it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to item number 7, public hearing. Resource Management Agency hold a public hearing and consider adopting a resolution regarding conditional certificate of compliance to establish the subdivided remainder parcel on State Route 129, APN 121029 as a legal lot in accordance with Subdivision Map Act and local land use regulations. Applicant's plans include land stewardship and natural land and plant restoration. SBC file number 790. Can we have the staff report, please? Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Jonathan Olivas, Associate Planner with San Benito County. This evening, I'll be presenting CC 240002, Conditional Certificate of Compliance at Chittenden Road, Highway 129. Tonight, we're going to talk about project location, description, CEQA, land use consistency, and staff recommendations. The site is approximately 4 miles northwest of downtown San Juan Bautista, about 3/4 of a mile northwest of the Highway 101 and Highway 129 interchange. The project is located in a rural area surrounded by mostly agricultural land uses, with some housing in the vicinity. The project involves the recognition of a 50-acre remainder parcel, as shown in Book 11 of Parcel Maps, page 89, recorded in 2022. The staff has evaluated the request for compliance under the State Subdivision Map Act, specifically Government Code Section 66499.35, as well as the County Subdivision Ordinance Section 23.23.003. The purpose of this action is to establish legal lot status for remainder parcel, allowing it to be sold, leased, or financed. It's important to note that no development or intensification of use is proposed at this time, and the project aligns with the broader goals of land stewardship, landscape preservation, and native plant restoration, and supports ongoing conservation efforts in the area. The image on screen shows the project site labeled as a remainder on this map, with the areas of 30% slope indicated in the shaded areas.
Keep going.
Okay, the image that will shortly be on screen shows a close-up of the areas indicated in the original parcel map that are non-access onto Route 129 per Condition 7 of this resolution. The next slide would be the image.
Can you hold up long enough for the image to appear, please?
Okay.
It is.
Okay. Okay. So I'll recap this one if it's displaying yet. Not yet.
Or if you can give us a page number in our 54, thank you.
And this should be showing you the original remainder parcel on the original parcel map. And again, the gray shaded areas, those are 30% slope. The next slide, as I think we're going to get it up, the next slide just zooms in on those black squares, which are the no access strips. So in other words, those basically are, no roads can be built there, and it's mostly due to grade. And Caltrans has also commented on that with no further access.
Okay.
I'm not sure what page it is in your book.
55.
Yeah.
So little squares, if you're holding on
Okay.
this and 55's up
Yeah.
on the corner.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
And against those black squares, there are no access points for the parcel. And again, mostly due to the 30% grades and steeps, and even 20% in some areas. And I've already gotten comments from Caltrans, and Caltrans has also agreed that the existing access is the only access allowed for the parcel. No further access would be allowed under 129. This is, I'm going to be going on to 7. Okay. Okay. This image shows the project site facing northeast towards Gilroy with Highway 101 off in the distance. Next slide. The project site facing southeast towards San Juan Batista with Anzar High School and neighboring industry in the distance. Next slide. This is the project site facing southwest towards Salinas and Anzar Road. Next slide. This is the project site facing northwest towards Watsonville and Highway 129, aka Chittenden Road. And then we're going to some land use consistency. So this general plan designation is rural or R, and this designation allows very low density residential development in areas that are not primarily suited for agriculture, but which also lack the necessary public infrastructure, such as water, sewer, or drainage, or are geographically constrained and therefore unsuitable for higher density residential development. The subject property is located within the rural zoning district as well, and the intent of this zoning designation is to accommodate, again, very low density residential uses in areas that are not agriculturally productive and that lack the infrastructure needed to support more intensive development. The rural zone allows for a mix of housing and small scale agriculture activities. In this case, the proposed project does not involve any new development, and the existing agricultural use of the property will be maintained. And the applicant has stated that there are no plans for future development. Instead, the applicant focuses on land stewardship, preserving the natural landscape, and supporting native plant restoration. Given these factors, the project is consistent with the purpose and intent of both the rural zoning district and the rural general plan designation. As stated earlier, the 50-acre subject property was established as a remainder parcel through county approval of minor subdivision PLN 200001 and recorded in 2022. It represents the undeveloped portion of the original property. While not required to complete subdivision improvements, the parcel has legal and physical access with demonstrated potential for water and septic. No new development, land division, or change in use is proposed. The applicant seeks only to clarify the parcel's legal status through a conditional certificate of compliance, or CCOC. The CCOC may be used with limited conditions as laid out in the attached resolution. Approval of this request will not result in any physical changes to the property. If any future development were to occur, it would be subject to separate review and the conditions of approval of this project. Next slide. The project qualifies for a common sense exemption from the California Environmental Quality Act based on State CEQA Guidelines 15061. It assures that the proposed conditional certificate of compliance will not significantly impact the environment, no ground disturbance or construction activities are proposed, and the project will not disrupt ecologically sensitive areas. The existing zoning regulations already permit similar land use. The project further qualifies for the transfer of ownership in land to preserve existing conditions, which is a Class 25 categorical exemption, as the applicant intends to use the parcel for land stewardship and native plant restoration with no new development proposed. The conditional certificate of compliance simply formalizes legal status without facilitating development or altering site conditions. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the staff report, review the attached draft resolution, including findings and conditions of approval, receive public comment, adopt the resolution, including findings to approve conditional certificate of compliance, CC 240002, subject to the conditions of approval found in the resolution. Any questions?
Through the chair. Whoops. What does this grant the applicant if we were to deny it, what would they be losing out on? I mean, I'm not understanding what the benefit to the applicant is by doing this and what the loss to the county is.
Essentially, this allows the land to be transferred to this land stewardship LLC for them to be able to do the habitat restoration that they want to, because currently it is owned by another party, and this is just sort of the formalizing of that so that they can take ownership of the land and protect the land as they've intended. And they also provided a letter that stating their intent to want to do land stewardship.
Okay, thank you.
And plant restoration.
One quick question. May I check?
Are they asking, can you explain the Williamson Act then? And they're asking to be removed from the Williamson Act, is that correct?
They are not currently under the Williamson Act. The parcel next to it, adjacent to it, is, but they are not.
But the site that we're talking about is not.
It is not.
Then I kind of go back to what benefit does it, I'm just curious because nothing is going to change on that land.
Correct. It is only for the specific purpose of it going out of the previous ownership into the new ownership, and for them to be able to do land stewardship in perpetuity.
Commissioner Scagliotti?
Yes, will it give a bump up in basis for the county to have more tax revenue off of that, or is it going to stay the same?
I believe it's indifferent. I believe it stays the same.
Okay, thank you.
Where is this in relationship to the Ag Center and Travelers Rest?
So it is originally part of that subdivision. This is the furthest parcel, I believe, northwest of that. And so essentially one rather large parcel separates the two.
Okay.
So it's over the hill toward Watsonville. It's on the other side of the hill.
Oh, yeah, it's the hill itself at the very last 50 acres.
But it's on 129, the
Correct.
frontage, so it goes over the hill.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a very steep hill.
Yeah,
Chair, one more question, please.
yes, please.
Will this be detrimental to the Ag Center if it ever continues to go forward? Will this do a hindrance to that parcel?
It
If they
would-
decide to do anything there, will this like block them somehow?
It would not hinder that parcel because that parcel is separate and separately zoned, went through its separate secret review and all that. Essentially what this would do would preserve the land as it is with plant restoration so that it essentially, as long as they own it, it can never be built on.
Okay, so it's actually going to be helpful to the Ag Center.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just ask one more thing? So they're not planning on selling, but should it be sold, they'd still have to abide by all these rules?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we specifically conditioned it as such for a couple of reasons. There's a lot of 30% grade on the property, so it would be very difficult. You could possibly do something to the effect of a small home, but other than that, that would be the max you could actually really physically do with it because the rest would be non-buildable areas, and that is a condition. There's also limited access, and those are also a condition on there as well. Our hillside development policy also prevents further development too. So nothing really high-scale development could actually ever technically occur as it sits.
So this, to me, appears to be a very cut and dried legal issue. Why does it need to come to the commission? Why isn't this an administrative issue?
This is it's a discretionary action because remainder parcels in general are similar to a subdivision. And in this parcel's case, it's pretty straightforward and they're just doing conservancy and they're not doing those things. But if it were some kind of other remainder parcel and it was buildable and they had proposed to maybe further subdivide or anything of that
Right,
nature,
okay.
you would need to set conditions now to make sure that in the future,
I
that,
see.
we would get what we would need
I
to
see.
for the development to be proper.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Mhm.
Further questions from the commission? Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, okay, sorry. I saw you waving and I thought it was a question. Okay. Shall we open public comment? Is there public comment within chambers?
I don't have any cards. And let me see through Zoom. Victor, I now can't see my Zoom participants. Can you please let me know?
There are no public comments via Zoom.
Thank you. So no public comments in chambers or via Zoom.
Okay. Discussion within the commission?
No, seems clear. Yep. Is that a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
I'll second.
Should we do a roll call or I guess, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Let me go back to the agenda. Sorry, I'll lose my place here. Moving on to item 7.2. Review and adopt the attached resolution that recommends the Board of Supervisors amend the attached proposed draft ordinance provisions to amend Title 17 Traffic Regulations, Chapter 17.01, Article 2, Junked, Abandoned, and Like Vehicles, various sections, right of entry of persons authorized to remove violating vehicles, notice of intention to abate and remove, and so forth. Recommend adoption to the Board of Supervisors, SBC file number 790.3. Can we have the presentation, please? Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Robin Leland, the Code Enforcement Officer for the county. I wanted to bring to you today some revisions for our Title 17, the traffic regulations. You can go to the next one. Okay. So the purpose of me bringing this to you is because the California Vehicle Code allows individual jurisdictions to adopt their own vehicle abatement codes that allow specific employees to tow and remove vehicles deemed a public nuisance. Right now, our code only allows the sheriff's office to remove them. So myself, as a code enforcement officer, I do not have the authority to do so. Go ahead on the next one. Our first changes, this is, excuse me, these are really the only two definitions existing in our code. So we kind of buffed that up a little bit. We added more definitions to add clarity and specific terms and define specific terms used in these chapters. You can scooch forward. Terms are owner, person, registered owner, vehicle, just basic terms, and that they were, the definitions were taken out of the California Vehicle Code. Go ahead, next one. Same with these, we added a definition for an abandoned vehicle, dismantled vehicle, public nuisance vehicle, and a wrecked vehicle. These were all also taken from the California Vehicle Code. Go ahead. And same here, your vehicle identification number, as defined in the California Vehicle Code. So this is the change that we made. We just added "or an enforcing officer," which would allow myself or anybody deemed an enforcing officer by the county, and that's defined in Chapter 1 of our county code. We added, sorry, go ahead. So the bottom lines in red, that was added, and that was just taken verbatim from Title 1 as well. So just to add that we can obtain a warrant should we need to get on the property to remove those public nuisance vehicles.
Robin?
Yes.
I don't know if our copy is different from what you have up there. It's hard for me to read what you have up there from here, but our copy doesn't parse, the English on our copy doesn't parse properly. I can't make sense of it. So there's something wrong with our version. I don't know if it's the same as yours, but it needs proofreading or something. There's something wrong. That's all I'm saying. So you'll want to look at it again, at least our version. Our version says, if consent to enter enclosed private property for purposes of this section has been sought and refused, is denied, or facts and if circumstances exist to reasonably justify a failure to seek such, not seeking consent, such the enforcement officer shall have recourse to every remedy provided by law to secure entry, including but not limited to obtaining an inspection warrant pursuant to section 1822.50 et sequitur of the Code of Civil Procedure, period. And it's just, I mean, I'm familiar with some of the legalese here, but that's just not really English. I mean, there's verbs where there shouldn't be verbs and subjects where there shouldn't be subjects. So I'm just suggesting that, have another look at it and see if it can be wordsmithed.
We can take a look. It was, we were incorporating several comments.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Was that page 102 that you were looking at? Because I believe that's the page that's up there.
Oh, I'm looking at page 82, so.
Ours is on page, well, it's the actual text, page 82.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I'm looking at our page 82, and like I said, it may not agree with what's up there on your screen. So my apologies, I don't want to get us bogged down in the weeds. I just thought I should point it out since we're talking about that particular paragraph.
No
So
problem.
I just didn't want to forget to mention it.
Okay.
Oh, it is different, yeah.
It is different, huh? Okay, then we just have to reconcile, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Noted.
I think in ours, if you just put after this section has been sought and refused, comma, or denied, and get rid of its, I think that's fixes the
Could be, yeah.
the grammar.
It could be as simple as that.
And I had another typo. Sorry. Yeah. Under 17.01.030 disposal of vehicle, it just says heating officer, not hearing officer. Minor, I don't think we'll be sued for that, but
Okay.
you never know in today's world.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. The next slide would be, we added language to allow the enforcing officer, department, or contract company to enter the property to remove the vehicles. Just making sure that it's expressly stated that if we were to contract with a tow company, that they would be allowed on the property. Go ahead on the next. This is what we currently have, and then, next slide, please. And then we added a notice that is required by the California Vehicle Code to be listed in the ordinance, which it outlines how a notice of intention to impound must be placed on the car, and you have to give the person, the owner and the property owner, 10 days to remove it themselves before you can tow it off the property. Go ahead to the next slide. We added the language here in this section just to allow for a county hearing officer. So it mostly remains the same, we just added that extra option. The next. Theme here, we just added hearing officer so that way the county hearing officer can deal with appeals and hearing requests. And same thing here, we just added that option for the hearing officer. For your first section here, we just added the hearing officer part, and the section B is a new section, which requires us, by the California Vehicle Code, to provide notice to the DMV that this car has been removed, and the DMV can record what happened to it. And our recommendation is that we, excuse me, that the board, we recommend that the Board of Supervisors adopt the ordinance provisions presented today for the amendments to Title 17.
Questions for Robin from the commission?
I have a question, if you don't mind, on 1701-027, Part B. A notice of intent is not required for the removal of vehicle or part thereof. And it goes on to say, if there's no motor or transmission or wheels or that type of thing.
Right, if there's no identification on it, for us to contact the owner.
Well, it's not just identification, you're giving that if it can't be driven away.
Right.
And I get that, but the only concern I have with that is you don't have to put any notice on, and even though, you know, I'm sure that that's not the prettiest RV or whatever with no wheels, no engine, no transmission. Mm-hmm. They may have their personal belongings, birth certificates and such. So I would just like to see that some notice be put on. And I don't know this is what the language is now, but I just wonder, maybe you can help us out here, Sean. Is it even legal to just take somebody's stuff without notifying them at all?
Not in general. And I would just add, it says a notice of intention is not required, but we could add some sort of language that says, but you can still give a notice, right? It's not required, but.
And you do send a CHP 180 form to the legal owner. They are given a notice, it's just not the 10-day notice where a sticker's placed on it, but we can change language.
My only concern is that if somebody comes back to find their empty shell of a car with all their luggage in it missing, they might panic.
Absolutely. That's also
I'd agree with
because
that,
your
yeah.
first thing to do usually is call the police, and that's why tow companies will also register that they towed a vehicle, so it comes up for the police that it was towed and where it's stored.
And what happened to it.
Yeah.
Is it possible to just have it somehow the language that you give at least a whatever color orange notice with 48 hours, you know, is that
Sure.
something
I think
that
so.
we could
Yeah, like I said,
consider?
I think we could change it so that it's not required, but that we do give some type, but we could refer to that type of notice.
Okay.
That you know what he's referring to?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have an issue on, under 17.01.022. We are striking item 3, which says, there was an exception for a vehicle or part thereof which was completely enclosed within a building in a lawful manner where it was not visible from the street or highway or other public or private property. Now that's no longer accepted. Now we can even tow those away.
That it was a duplicate sentence. The section, I just crossed it out because it said it twice in the code.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, that's
problem.
also item 1. Okay,
Right.
never mind. Sorry.
No
Thank
problem.
you. I withdraw my objection. Thank you. Other items from the commission, questions?
No.
Okay. Public comment on this?
I have no public comment in chambers. Do we have public comment via Zoom?
We do not have any public comment via Zoom.
Okay, discussion within the commission?
Yeah. I agree with all the changes mentioned, whether they be the grammatical changes or the
Okay,
change suggested by Commissioner Ringhayden.
okay. Is there then a motion to bring this forward to the Board of Supervisors?
I motion that this be brought to the Board of Supervisors.
Is there a second?
Is that with noting the changes that were discussed?
Yes, noticing everything, whatever you
Okay,
said.
can we get clarification whether you wanted the 10-day notice or the 24-day notice, or the 24-hour notice, I'm sorry?
48, right?
48?
Vinnie?
48, I thought we
I
said.
think that if you don't have wheels, a motor, a transmission, or anything to move it, I think 48 hours is probably enough.
Okay. Given those changes, I'll second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? No? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 7.3.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you. Review and adopt the attached resolution recommending Board of Supervisors amend the proposed draft ordinance Title 23, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Chapter 17, Improvements, Section 23.17, Section 23.17, recommend adoption to Board of Supervisors. And can we have the presentation on that, please, Steve? Thank you.
Good evening, Chair, Planning Commissioners, Steve Luke, Public Works Administrator and County Engineer. And because this is essentially, I think, the third or fourth time we've presented the verbiage, we're basically just bringing up the actual verbiage for you on the screen here. And
Go to the first one.
I don't know if there's a way to eliminate the sides and bars, but.
There isn't, because
Okay.
I'm presenting and it's forcing me to do this format.
Okay, fair enough. So, Chapter 23, we are going to be reviewing the revisions that if the Planning Commission so chooses, we will then present to the Board of Supervisors. And we will start with the definition of urban level services, please, Stephanie.
Sorry for the scrolling, avert your eyes.
Yeah, there we go. So this was added for the benefit of sidewalks and things. So basically, we just added a definition that urban level services for unincorporated areas is a legal parcel. A legal parcel is wholly within the boundaries of an urbanized area or urban cluster as designated by the United States Census Bureau is the definition there. And then if you can scroll down a little bit. Great, thanks. Down to section chapter 2317B. We also added through coordination with Planning Commission, that sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and undergrounding of public utilities shall also be required for subdivisions in those areas where the Planning Commission or the Board of Supervisors, by condition, resolution, or an adopted specific plan, calls for urban level services. Sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and undergrounding of public utilities may also be required at the discretion of the county engineer. So we're just saying that through those entities, a project can also be conditioned to implement those improvements. Section B says, and if you could please scroll to A1. Thank you. So, for the benefit of commissioners that might not have been here for previous meetings, the county staff has been discussing with the commission methods that we can clarify conditions that would be required for major subdivisions with 5 or more lots, and then distinguish those from subdivisions that have 4 or fewer lots, which are minor subdivisions. So, where we landed, and we can hopefully finalize today and then present this to the Board of Supervisors, is that all subdivisions of 5 or more lots shall have frontage property dedications and frontage improvements as required by the Title 23 of the code for the full width of the road, or for every lot, 50 feet of street length to be improved in its full width, not to exceed a quarter mile each direction of the property frontage, if within the county-owned right-of-way, whichever is greater, and shall be consistent in concept, alignment, and level of improvement with the circulation and transportation element of the general plan, area plan, master plan, and any applicable specific plan, as well as any streets and highways master plan. And at the discretion of the board, I can keep reading through all these, or I can pause. Well, let's do this. I'll go through the paragraph and then maybe pause, and we can discuss each paragraph because these are kind of important. But where necessary to ensure traffic safety and ease of circulation, off and on-site traffic control devices such as signing and signalization shall be required. Whenever the subdivider is required to dedicate land for trails or bikeways, the county engineer may require the same to be improved if necessary to comply with the general plan, area plan, master plan, or specific plan or implementing ordinances. This requirement is subject to change at the discretion of the county engineer as is necessary to mitigate impacts to public health, safety, or orderly development. I can pause there. I can continue on per the direction of the board.
Yeah, I have a question already.
Sure.
The whichever is greater implies there are two things being compared. What are the two things?
So the full width of the road, are we talking about right at the top of?
Yeah,
one?
under item 1.
Okay.
The two things being compared are what?
You bet. So item 1 is, or option 1 is, lots shall have frontage property dedications and frontage improvements as required for the full width of the road. So along their frontage, along their full width, or going beyond that, for every 50 feet per lot. So say they have 10 lots times 50, then that would be 500 feet in addition. So at a minimum, I guess is the way to put it, is a minimum is your frontage, period.
Got it.
Now it can also go beyond that as a maximum. So those are kind of the two options.
Okay, thank you.
I don't like the word "or." It seems like it gives somebody an option. You can just do the frontage.
But he says whichever is greater.
If is that how the legal reads that? I'm not an attorney, but
Right, yeah, whichever option is the greater amount of work to be done is the one that would be chosen, I believe.
okay.
Well, it's not an option. It specifically says whichever is greater.
Right, I mean, we could, I don't know if we need the whichever is greater. It's if it includes multiple, is it lots, residences?
No.
So I think there's instances where, because of the shape of the property, a subdivision, will kind of narrow up at the frontage. And so that would be kind of a minimum, and then you would go for 50 feet per lot, which obviously extends it. So it's actually extending onto kind of your neighbor's frontage, if that makes sense. So I think there is two alternatives. And then again, it's whichever is greater, but I'll just leave it at that, so.
Okay.
I mean, you could use more words, and you could say, first figure out the property frontage, then figure out compute the number of lots times 50 feet, and then see which one is more, and that's your requirement. But that makes it a lot more words.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that whichever is greater gets us to the same point, right? Effectively, it's this, right? So I think that works. Yeah.
I'm also worried about the multiple minors becoming a major. I know we've covered that in a different section of the code, but do we need to also state that explicitly in here as well?
No, it's prohibited by law. You can't.
Sorry?
It's prohibited by law. You can't do that.
What?
There it is.
You can't split multiple times, and to get underneath that.
Right.
And
Well, I know we explicitly said that somewhere in the code. We said,
It's under the Subdivision Map Act as well. Yeah.
Okay.
and we restated in section 2 also,
Okay.
just because per previous direction. So.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought currently that there was no time limit, that if you did a minor subdivision, you try to go back. So now we're giving them a 5-year limit that they can do a minor, then come back 5 years later and split it again, and they get away with a major. Is that what I'm reading?
Oh, it's in here, isn't it?
It's
So maybe we should jump to that section before we
it's
have
the last
discussion.
sentence in 2.
It's in there, yeah.
You are correct, but we're kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but yes. So.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Maybe
Please
that
proceed.
weakens it. Maybe we should strike that.
Yeah, I want to know why it's in there.
Well, okay, we should probably go through it and have the discussion,
Okay.
I think, before we
Okay, fair
jump
enough.
ahead, because this was already discussed, but, okay. Paragraph 2. All subdivisions of 4 or fewer lots shall have frontage property dedications and frontage improvements as required by the Title 23 of the code, limited to half the width of their frontage, consistent in concept, alignment, and level of improvement with the circulation and transportation elements of the general plan, area plan, master plan, and any applicable specific plan, as well as any streets and highways master planned. At minimum, these minor subdivisions shall be required to have property dedications and driveway improvements along the width of their frontage, where necessary to ensure traffic safety and ease of circulation. Often on-site traffic control devices such as signing and signalization shall be required. Whenever the subdivider is required to dedicate land for trails or bikeways, the county engineer may require the same to be improved if necessary to comply with the general plan, area plan, master plan, or specific plan or implementing ordinances. This requirement is subject to change at the discretion of the county engineer as is necessary for public health, safety, or orderly development. If any further subdivision occurs within 5 years, then the requirements for improvements would be 23.17.003A1, which is a new requirement up above, which is more stringent than our current code. We could talk about the years if we want, but what we're saying is, if within 5 years, a minor subdivision tries to subdivide again, they are subject to paragraph number 1, which goes, the quarter mile from the edge of their corner of their property. So it's actually a new, more robust requirement. So I'll pause there for discussion, but.
Wouldn't the, through the chair, wouldn't the longer term capture more subdivisions? I mean, if we shorten it, am I not understanding that? If it's a 20-year term, wouldn't that capture more people that try to get around the subdivision rules? Because currently there's none. What I've been told repeatedly, that you just can't do a minor, then do another minor, then do another minor. You can't do that. And now this seems to allow it, which is insanity. I mean, other than for the engineers that do all the splits.
Well, I don't interpret it that way, but maybe I guess I'm missing something. So I'll let the folks
Sean.
up here.
Well, no, I think it's,
clarify.
I think it's more onerous in that if there's 2 minors within the 5-year period, then it automatically triggers the major conditions on it, right?
But the way this is worded, if there were 2 minors within 10 years, it wouldn't be considered a major.
I mean, it may not fall within that within that sentence either.
Right.
Right.
This doesn't scope in every single development.
So how do we stop it completely?
I don't think you can stop it completely. People are allowed to do what they want with their property within the purview of the sort of codes we have written in the state statutes.
Right.
So I don't think we want to there's a reason that we split major and minor subdivisions, and if a later person comes in and wants to do another minor and it's not related to the previous one.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's not the same owner and it's gone through multiple different
Right.
property owners in between and so forth, then
Right.
yeah, you're not addressing the initial problem, right? Right.
Just generally under the law, restrictions on property are dissuaded by the courts, right?
Right.
In America, we have the freedom to use our property as we wish, unless it upsets the community.
I think everything we do upsets the community.
Well, fair enough.
And for full disclosure, we actually added this sentence per direction from the commission, so we
Right.
can revise it if that's the
I don't-
direction of the commission, I guess.
No.
I don't recall that.
I sort of do. I kind of do remember us adding that. The 5-year number kind of strikes my memory.
Basically, we want them to be subject to the more stringent, robust requirements if they try to subdivide. Again, maybe the years is something to be discussed, but we're trying to say if you subdivide again, then you have to be subject to full width and even a wider length, basically, if you try to subdivide again, so.
Yeah, and any subsequent subdivision is going to have to come back to us anyway, so,
Well, yeah, but if they do a minor and then come back and do another minor, you can't get them for the major if they don't fall within, I guess, 5 years. Well, that's what I'm trying to understand. I'm being confused by what we're being told. We're saying it doesn't have any effect, then why is it there? And why
I
is it
don't think that's
5?
what we're saying.
well, we could combine the years with the ownership. We could, I mean, it might matter if it's the same owner or not. I mean, you just because it's the same property, if somebody completely different comes back to
Yes,
us,
then it's a different issue.
yeah. But of course, you could always get around that by having it transferred to
I was about to say, you'd
LLC
want
or
to,
something.
yeah,
and-
you'd want to address, yeah, if you transferred it to your own
Yeah,
sort of
exactly.
LLC, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're never going to be able to cover every possible loophole, but
Well, no, but going from no time limit to all of a sudden 5 years doesn't,
well, we could strike it if that's the will of the commission.
who benefits from that sentence? The developers, the landowners, or the county? That's what I'm trying to ascertain.
I think it was placed there, the request was to remind all of us if a minor is doing a subdivision, it kind of triggers, has this area already subdivided within the last 5 years as a minor, and then they're re-subdividing, it's kind of a trigger to remind us that really it's a minor, it's going to become a major. I think that was the original intent. But we can strike it if that's the will of the commission.
So this is just like a look-back period.
Yeah, and staff is fully cognizant of the fact that multiple minors potentially trigger a major, and it's a common sort of.
Well, then why
thing
not
in
make it
planning.
20 years? That way,
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think you might run into problems if you made it 20 years, because I think there's a certain point at which it becomes unreasonable to sort of say you can't split your property.
okay, 10, 15?
I don't know what the threshold is, but I would
Well,
counsel you to not be overly onerous in that sense. People should be able to use their property as they generally wish and subdivide it, as long as it's not totally counter to the general plan and the overall approach of the county.
what if instead of saying that the requirements would be 23.17, what if we say their requirements could be imposed, the requirements of 23.17.003A could be imposed by the planning commission?
I think that's a fine solution, yeah.
And then we could even increase the time limit. We could increase the time to 10 years and say that they could be imposed by the planning.
Sure, I think with
commission.
that discretion, then you have more wiggle room there, yeah.
I agree with that.
Something to come
10
back
years?
to
Yeah,
after public
I'll agree
comment?
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't actually opened public comment on this
Mm-mm.
yet, have we?
No, I have
But we haven't
all
finished.
kinds of issues with it. I guess I'm senile. I don't remember a lot of this stuff.
So my question is, isn't in the county, you can only subdivide 5 acres?
It depends on the zoning.
Okay, okay.
We're just discussing the number of lots for like minor versus major. That's what this is about. So.
Where's the threshold to do all these improvements? Well, the threshold would maybe, would it be better to say 10 years? Would that?
Just have.
Shall I continue?
Yeah, please.
All right, for the purposes of this chapter, frontage shall be defined as the project site's property boundary along the county right-of-way include both sides of the abutting road, unless otherwise determined by the county engineer or the planning commission. Improvements required of the abutting road shall not include private property not owned by the applicant or the county. So we want to add clarity on frontage because I think it was somewhat unclear or undefined in the code. So, shall I continue or?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Stephanie. Appreciate it. So, in lieu fees, subsection 5, in lieu fees shall be deposited in a special underground account to be used as recommended by the Planning Commission and approved by the Board of Supervisors for future undergrounding of utilities throughout the county. So, currently, in a good way, it just gives the Planning Commission more input for how undergrounding fees are used. So that was the intent of number 5. And then, thank you, Stephanie. And this next one's a little bit of a restatement of the previous. It's just kind of our code's formatted. But Section J, limitation on improvement requirements under subdivision of 4 or fewer lots, so minor subdivision. When the county requires improvements for subdivision of land, which is subdivision of 4 or fewer lots, such requirements shall be limited to the dedication of rights-of-way easements along half the width of their frontage, improvements along the entire project site, and the construction of reasonable off-site and on-site improvements for the parcels being created. Requirements for the construction of such off-site and on-site improvements shall be noticed by a statement on the parcel map, record of survey, or other such means as approved by county council. Fulfillment of these construction requirements shall not be required until the time a permit or other grant of approval for development of the parcel is issued by the county, or until the time the construction of such improvements is required pursuant to an agreement between the subdivider and the county, provided, however, that in the absence of such an agreement, the county may require fulfillment of such construction requirements within a reasonable time frame following approval of the parcel map and prior to the issuance of a permit or other grant of approval for the development of a parcel upon a finding by the appropriate decision-making body, i.e. Planning Commission, or the county engineer that fulfillment of the construction requirements is necessary for either of the following reasons. Number 1, the public health and safety or substantial property rights, or the required construction is a necessary prerequisite to the orderly development of the surrounding area. And I think that concludes the requested revisions.
So, so I can see the benefit to the developer of Section J. I struggle to see the benefit to the county. Yeah, all it does is hamstring the county. It tells us what we can't do. It doesn't give us any additional ability to limit them to, in any way, shape, or form. It just tells us that we no longer have the ability to do certain things. I don't think I'm in favor of that, personally. But, we haven't even opened public comment. I shouldn't be discussing, this is more like for discussion within the commission after public comment. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
No, you're fine.
Do I have any public comment in chambers? Okay, no public comment in chambers?
There is no public comment via Zoom.
I have a couple of questions over before we go any further.
Please, questions.
Is public
Sorry.
Public comment closed?
Okay, public comment is closed. All right. Questions from the,
Yes, on my page 120, B, storm drainage, storm water runoff and subdivision, from the subdivision shall be collected, conveyed by an approved storm drain system. I thought we talked about keeping this 100% on site.
So the drainage, we specifically during the last meeting said drainage would be a separate discussion, and it's actually a separate item on this agenda. Because it's can't be addressed on just this section. It's multiple sections, but I did present it on the next, 8.1. So.
Okay, sorry, I got ahead of myself. I
No problem.
apologize.
No problem.
Is that it?
Yeah, I saw that and I was reading down. I thought, wait, before we get any further, I want a question.
Through the chair, if I may.
please.
I know when we first started, we had 100 feet and no limitation. Then we went down to 50 feet, and then I think there was a 5-mile limitation. And the last time, I'm losing my marbles, the last time I thought it was a half a mile in either direction. So at a quarter of a mile, whether you build 26 units or 1,200 units, you're doing the same work. And I'm struggling with that concept. I think I'd rather leave the cap to the discretion of the planning commission at the time based on the project, as opposed to saying, well, might as well build 1,200 because you're going to do just as little work as you're going to do for 26. It doesn't make sense at that point to have the limit so low. And I know we're worried about getting sued, but we get sued all the time anyway. And it just seems like we're giving away the farm unless there's a way to cap developments at 26 units at a time. And so they have to come back again. I mean, this is ridiculous. And maybe we agreed to it, but I'm not happy with a quarter of a mile.
You have to do the entire frontage, even if that's more than
Correct.
a quarter mile.
Which is the minimum that they should be doing.
Right.
Any
of course,
development.
Of course.
But then I don't know. I would rather see that quarter of a mile increase quite a bit.
I thought that at some point I had thought that I said 5 miles and that might have been excessive, but I was shooting for the moon, hoping to mediate and get somewhere in the middle. Quarter mile doesn't seem like it's in the middle.
I think county council said we were going to get sued if we did 5 miles, but I'd rather sue the county for not doing anything. I mean, if ever we're going to sue, I'll sue if we don't get something out of developers. I mean, it's just asinine that we're constantly running away from what we should be doing and getting infrastructure out of people, especially given our current situation where we're toast and we're going to be forced to approve something and then we can't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're beyond the point where we should be worried about developers and their profits.
To the chair, can I ask a question? Nope, sorry. Chair, can I ask a question to the council?
Yes.
Can we put 5 miles? In each direction?
We could. He's just worried about us getting sued.
Yeah, it needs to be.
That's what we pay him for.
Well, there needs to be a next. Well, I'd have to do more research separately to sort of determine whether 5 miles is, how likely you are.
I understand if it's a 1 mile road, you
likely
can't
to
do it,
stand.
but you can say the whole road.
Right. I mean, I would just urge that there's a reason that there's a distinction between minor and major subdivisions. And
Well, there's another question I like to ask. We have all this here, and we never get anything out of it. We have these big subdivisions come in, and the one up on.
that would be a major, right? That would be a.
Yes,
yeah.
we're talking about the major.
You are okay.
Or the one up there on?
Yes, the development on Fairview.
Yeah, development on Fairview. I know you folks live
Santana,
there.
the
and
mess?
Yeah.
Is
We
there
try not to
anywhere we
name
can put in here to
specific,
ask for,
Oh,
where they have to,
sorry.
after so many houses, construct us a firehouse? Is there anything we can do in these codes to do that?
Not within the code. That would be more of a development agreement sort of situation.
Development? Okay. I
But
just
we
wanted
could
to
ask them to do that, the developer, right?
Yeah.
A
Well,
fire
nobody asked them,
station?
That's the problem. Nobody asked
Well, I
these
mean,
guys.
so if the developer says, say, I want to build
That you
600
can't-
homes.
You can't cure the county's problems with a particular development. You can't put the onus on a particular developer to solve
Could-
those sort of.
Could you ask them to build a school?
It depends on the size of the development, and that generally is in a development agreement where both parties are agreeing to do those things up front, right? It's not in the code.
No,
where-
it's something that we are gonna, well, I'd like to see asked for. If we get somebody that wants to develop 500 homes, for example, I think it's not unreasonable for us to ask for certain things. A drop tax was brought up for one, I thought, and then, you know, this is all part of negotiating an agreement with them when they first come up, right?
Sure, right.
So we could ask for that, have them not man a fire station, but dedicate a certain portion of the land for the fire
It would-
station.
Yeah, it would be in the context of a development agreement, though. It would be
Okay.
outside of the ordinance sort of structure in that sense.
Okay.
Chair, may I say something?
Please.
I agree with Mr. Ringhagen, Chairman Ringhagen, Commissioner Ringhagen. It's been all these years that we've never asked for a fire station, school, for these bigger developments to be done. We've never asked for that. We've always, for some reason, taken cash in lieu and then it disappears. I'm sorry, I'm blunt, gonna be straight up out there. We should ask, instead of money, we should ask these developers to build us a fire station, buy us a fire truck, park it there. We will staff it. They can do it a lot cheaper than government can because of the prevailing wage. I'm just making a comment, sir. That's all.
Just of note that there has to be a nexus between what you're asking for and the development itself. So in order for you to be asking for a fire station or a fire truck, the development would have to be very large.
1,200 home development would suffice once.
Maybe so, right?
Yeah.
No, it would be part of a development agreement, which, yeah, and essentially, yeah, it locks in the code and the ordinances at the time the development agreement is sort of entered into. So the developer gets the guarantee of the laws, and in exchange, they give certain things like that, yeah.
And if I may go back to my rant. So a mile is 5,280 feet. You have a 1,000-unit development, that's 5.28 feet outside of the frontage of the development. So it's 5.28 feet per unit. 1,000th of a million. It's not a lot of money per unit, and we're worried about them suing us. I'd be happy with 5 miles on either side. And a quarter, we might as well just throw out the whole thing if it's gonna be a quarter of a mile, 1,320 feet. A foot per, if it's a 1,000-unit development, that's a foot per house. Ooh, big time. I mean, they're spending more on their artificial turf. I mean, it's, at some point, the math has to make sense. And if we're gonna shy away every time we're gonna be threatened with a lawsuit, then we might as well rejoin Monterey County because they might have more money to fight lawsuits. But it's just ridiculous.
Okay, well, before we get too much farther afield, let's let Steve finish his presentation, if he's not finished. And let's make sure that we have an opportunity to open up for public comment, and then we'll
We
come
did.
back for discussion within.
We took it right, we closed it.
We did? On this item?
Yes.
Oh, all right, I'm sorry. I didn't remember that we had done public comment on this item. I knew we had on the other two. Sorry. Okay,
Been a long night.
it has. Okay,
It has.
okay, sorry. Okay, so we're still discussing within the commission on
Yep.
this item. All right, my mistake, sorry.
Have we set up, was there an ad hoc associated with this earlier? Or is this, or, that is an option, just as of note, if you want to discuss these things in depth.
I don't know if there
and
needs to be any further discussion. I think we just change the numbers how we feel and go and send
Yeah,
it to the board.
yeah,
And then
I
if they
mean-
want to do an ad hoc and
Right,
delay it another
exactly.
5 years, that's certainly within their purview.
I think there's a consensus that the quarter mile seems to be too small. I mean,
Insufficient.
everybody seems to think it's too small. I don't know if we all agree on what the right number is, but I think everybody, well, I'm putting words in people's mouths, but I think it's true that we all think it's too small.
I agree with that. It's way too small.
I agree. And a good example of that may be Santana Ranch, without calling them out.
I'm the new one, I get to say that.
All right, so is 1 mile too small?
Yes,
Yes,
Is 2 miles too small?
yes,
yes,
Is 2.5 miles too small?
yes.
yes.
I think when you start getting into the big, huge developments, you need to be able to be covered, period. End of story. We're not giving you,
We're not giving the ranch away anymore.
no, we're not. And I think we need to be bold, and if we get sued, so be it. That's,
Okay, but just, bear in mind, suits can be expensive. that's
yes,
all.
and I
Okay,
agree,
so-
but
so
they're
what about-
they're gonna realize that we are no longer gonna sit still and say,
Okay,
here you
but-
go, San Benito County.
How many?
Okay, so trying to come up with a number,
Five.
what about 3 miles?
At
Is 3
least
miles
5.
too small?
5.
Five.
5?
I mean, we're getting sued multiple times a week, so we might as well be
Well, and
getting sued for doing something positive.
I agree, and
It's
know,
not
I-
even about, I don't think for me, getting sued as much as it is, if they decide not to build 1,000 homes here because they can't afford to build 5 miles, then maybe that's not the person we want to build,
we're sorry.
All
There's a
right,
lot
I'll-
of developers, so there's a lot of money to be made. We want them. I'm not saying that I'm totally anti-development. I'm just thinking that we should get some value out of their wonderful build.
And if they do a development agreement, isn't there room for negotiation, a little trade-off?
There will be then, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to build a fire station, then we'll reduce this, or,
Exactly.
yeah.
Like Commissioner Ringhayden said, ask for the
Yeah.
world and negotiate back to where they say, okay, let's do
All
it.
right.
Well, I mean, that said, the development agreement locks in the code as it exists at the time it's entered into. So if it was a part of the code,
Okay,
I suppose
I'll
it
go
would be
with
part of the
5.
agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's change it to 5 then.
And then, if I,
Is it 5 miles in each direction or?
yes.
Yes,
So just- so
And then,
strike it.
I think it's the last sentence down there. Whenever the subdivider is required to dedicate lands for trails or bikeways, the county engineer may require, shall is a
require.
better word.
And what about section J? Is there a reason to hamstring us with section J?
Or is it any different from what we're currently doing?
I think we were one of the goals of this was to differentiate between a major and a minor. And where we landed on was the minor, which is 4 lots or fewer, would have half of the frontage, not the full width improved, because you're talking about 4 lots, basically. But was what was discussed during previous commission meetings.
Is it the word limitation that irks you?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's,
It kind of stands out that it's kicking the county in the teeth, and we already have enough of those. Is there a word we can use other than limitation?
well, you just strike the word limitation. Just say improvement requirements for a subdivision
Yeah,
of 4 or
there we
fewer
go.
lots. And strike shall be limited to, just say shall be or will be the dedication of rights of way easements, et cetera.
I thought we talked about full width.
No, not for
Not
small
for,
subdivisions.
not for a minor.
It was for the majors, it was full width. It was a long process. We did at one point talk about full width, and then after, after a
Discussion.
couple of people that we changed our minds
Okay.
after we hammered a few. souls. I think, and then we're good with 5 years on the look back
Well,
period.
I thought we were going to change the look-back period to 10 years and change it to say that the planning commission could invoke the requirements under section A if they re-subdivided within 10 years. That we
Okay.
had the option.
Sounds good.
That works.
Yeah,
If the board doesn't like it, they can always change it.
sure.
Then the only other thing I had was to change the date of the resolution to 2025.
Oh, okay, good catch.
Apologies.
It's been a long.
Steve's
it's been a
too
long
kind.
time.
I did that, not him.
It's just a minor thing. I don't even know if it's a legal issue.
I think per question and through the chair for county council, with these revisions, I think we need to come back and show you and make sure we're on the same page and then
I would advise that.
review them, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Could that be done for the special meeting?
You could, yeah. I mean,
Well, maybe I'll note it. I'll highlight these changes specifically and then just the ones we changed.
Okay, Sounds good.
When is it? Next week? When is that?
special meeting is on the 30th.
What's
That's in
today?
2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks.
That's
Okay.
in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Although I think for public noticing and things, we have to,
The notice is already sent out and it will be in the newspaper this Friday.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
it might be a little while, but I think we'll be ahead of any new major subdivisions, which is the goal, obviously, so.
Yeah. All right,
Sounds good.
Through the chair.
yes.
I still didn't get my storm drainage questions answered.
Oh,
It's
the next-
coming.
Next
Okay.
It's coming.
presentation.
I thought we were done. I apologize.
No,
So
It's
we
coming.
need a motion to continue this item until the
yeah.
regular?
So we need to continue this until the next regular meeting, right?
So I'll make the motion. I move we continue this item with the changes noted to the next regular meeting of, what are we in? May? Right? May? We're in
I think
April
so,
now?
yeah.
So May 21st, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 7.4, hold a public hearing. I see we have a memo on this regarding the continuation of PLN 210047, tentative map subdividing a 74-acre parcel at 600 Rocks Road. The applicant contacted staff last night to request a continuance, expressing a desire to submit a revised project description and an updated map that would be more consistent with direction previously provided by the Planning Commission. Also requested consideration of CEQA bids and initiation of the environmental review process be deferred to the May Planning Commission meeting. They hope the revised submittal may influence the commission's direction. The applicant indicated they are prepared to proceed with CEQA review if necessary. Given the applicant's request to revise the project materials and defer consultant selection, staff recommends that the Planning Commission continue the item to a date uncertain to be determined at the April 16th meeting. This would provide the applicant with time to submit their revised proposal and allow staff to coordinate the CEQA review steps based on the applicant's selected direction. Staff remains committed to supporting a transparent and timely CEQA review process and will continue to coordinate closely with the applicant and environmental consultants to ensure the project moves forward efficiently once a path is selected. Staff recommends Planning Commission continue the county planning file number PLN 210047 to a date uncertain to allow time for the applicant to submit a revised project description and updated map with consultant proposals already received. The proposals range in cost from $34K to just under $160K. Staff will return to commission with an update once the applicant has finalized their direction and selected a consultant if CEQA review is to proceed. And so, does staff have anything to add to that?
Not unless the commission has any questions.
Are there questions from the commission for staff?
So it's a date uncertain to continue to, so you have to renotice everything at some point down the road?
Yes, because we still haven't seen like officially what they want to present. I know some of the things that they talked with the applicant today about that they want to include, but it'll be ultimately up to the commission whether it'll be, continue with the secret review or if you see the map and agree with that.
Okay.
I'd like to just make a motion that we continue then.
Well,
Public comment.
don't we have to, yeah, we have to go with public comment first. Is there any public comment on this item?
I don't see any public comment in chambers.
We have no public comment via Zoom.
Okay, public comment is closed. Is there a discussion within the commission?
No.
Okay, is there then a motion to continue the item?
I'd like to motion that we continue the item to a time that they get their information.
I second.
Okay, is there, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Moving on to the regular agenda, item 8.1. Resource Management Agency, Steve Loop, presenting a discussion and information regarding Planning Commissioner requests for updates to Title 23 subdivisions and other related San Benito County Code for items including but not limited to expanding flood drainage and runoff requirements and rural storm events. File number 790, drainage discussion. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, commissioners. So this is related to the previous code discussion, but when we dug into it a little bit deeper, the code would have kind of a trickle effect through, or the code change would have a trickle effect and it wouldn't just affect 2317, but multiple other sections. So we're going to go through those tonight for your review and input. So, Ms. Stephanie, great. So, little recap, Planning Commission requested staff to expand the 100-year storm drainage requirement that's in our current code to either be a 500-year storm or a 1,000-year storm, and to hold 100% of additional runoff generated by the development, and to review City of Hollister code regarding percolation wells in ponds. So to break this into bite-sized pieces, because the percolation wells and water quality is a bigger discussion that we'll place on the next regularly agendized agenda that we can get into. We'll have the water quality and percolation well discussion. So I'd just like to focus on detention, retention of the 100-year, 500-year, 1,000-year storm event. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Next slide, please. So just to give you a little bit of perspective, the 100-year storm event is, depending on where you are in the county, it's 3 or 4 inches of rain within a 24-hour period. It's closer to 4 inches in most of the county than 3. So generally it's about 4 inches when you look throughout the county, 4 inches of rain during a 100-year storm. And all that means is if you had a bucket in your front yard, it would fill up 4 inches deep in that bucket. And obviously what we're talking about tonight, though, is drainage areas that collect those 4 inches and route those 4 inches of rain into smaller areas and have to deal with that collection of rain. So 500-year storm event, it's funny, they kept coming up with the number 6.32. I probably should just say 6.3 inches there, but that's for a 500-year storm. It's about a 50% increase over the 100-year storm in 24 hours. And the 1,000-year storm was a little more vague because it's not in a lot of data, because it's just not, hydrologists don't usually discuss the 1,000-year storm, but it's about 6.9 inches. FEMA and hydrologists and hydrology studies that we researched could not really agree on what a 1,000-year storm amount would be. So, but it's about 6.9 inches. So all public agencies that we researched in California use following criteria for their piping systems, and that's the underground pipes. They either carry a 5-year or a 10-year storm. And then streets and roads carry a 100-year storm event per other agency codes and our code. And I'll explain it a little bit better over the next, or a little more in detail over the next couple slides, please. Thank you. So during a 10-year storm event, which for our county is closer to 2.83 inches, we'll call it 3 inches of rain in 24 hours. That's a 10-year storm event. The pipes under the streets all the way out to the manholes. Those will carry a 10-inch storm event and distribute it. So we get 3 inches over 24 hours. When we jump up to the 100-year storm, which is 4 inches, the storm manholes start filling with water, and I'll show this on another slide as well. And if it goes over 24 hours, the streets will actually start carrying that 100-year storm event and distribute it hopefully to a creek or a river or a large basin. So that's what these streets are designed to do. And they're actually designed to go up to so that the water level doesn't reach the homes on the streets. So that's for the 100-year storm event. And if we go to the next slide, please, Stephanie. So on a profile of those events, I'll explain this a little bit more. The pipes shown in gold orange, they'll be full in a 10-year storm event, and they'll start to fill up. That dashed line is what they call hydraulic grade line, which is the water line. It's not really underground. It just, the pressure of the water raises to that height. So in a basin, as the water continues on a 10-year storm, it keeps continuing to rise until it kind of transitions up to the 100-year storm event, which was about 4 inches in 24 hours. And so on a 100-year storm event, the streets can be, they don't have to be full, but they're designed to at least at a minimum carry that. A lot of streets are dry on a 100-year storm event, but at a minimum, they're supposed to be able to at least handle a 100-year storm when it's raining for 4 inches over 24 hours, and the basin would be filled accordingly. And this revision we're talking about tonight would revise this scenario. If we could go to the next slide, please, Stephanie. Thank you. So, the roadways would still be designed to hold the 100-year, because to do a 500-year, you're almost creating corridors of rivers in your streets and high houses that would be, you know, not a few feet, maybe a foot or two higher than they are today, but, you know, you'd be almost creating canals if you wanted the streets to hold the 100-year storm. However, we would and are proposing for the Planning Commission's consideration to increase the basin size to hold the 500-year storm, which in most cases makes it deeper and or wider, and it's essentially creating a larger bathtub. Depending on the soil, some soils percolate, some soils don't, but a larger holding container for the 500-year storm. It's not apples and apples 50%, but it's generally about, you know, another 50% increase over a 100-year storm for the basins that would be installed per our code with this change. So we go to the actual code sections, please. And I think I made the font kind of small, so I apologize. I'll try to make it larger next time. But I just went through all the code sections that noted a 100-year storm and essentially revised those to be a 500-year storm. And specifically, they were for channels, detention basins, retention basins. And in our code today, and this was one of the requests of the Planning Commission, I guess to confirm maybe, but the developers today, they're already supposed to hold back the delta for a 100-year storm on site. Now that would change to become a 500-year storm, and not on site, but in their basin, I should say, so it doesn't flow off their site. Now, just so we're on the same page, once that storm increases over the 500-year event, which was about 6.3 inches, once we get into 7 inches over 24 hours or prolonged storm periods, those basins are eventually going to fill and spill out. So they're not going to be able to hold an infinite amount of water. But for a very large storm event, which is 500 years, 6.3 inches over 24 hours, those basins would hold all that water generated by those developments. And so, yeah, these just essentially met that requirement as requested by the Planning Commission. You can just scroll through, Stephanie. I don't know if we need to read all these, but I can go one by one and go through each change, or I can pause there and have direction from the commission on how you would like me to proceed.
Well, I think if the changes are literally striking out the 100 and changing it to 500, I don't think we need to necessarily go one by one unless,
No.
unless anybody feels differently.
I'm good with that.
We like your voice, but not that much, Steve.
Ditto for me,
I'm good with that.
for my voice. Okay, yeah, so those are the proposed changes. Public Works supports the revisions. I think it's a good idea, hold back some more water, but I don't know if there's questions from public or others.
I'll wait until after public comment.
Questions from the commission, anybody? No? Okay, public comment?
I do have a public comment in chambers. Annette Perez. I'm sorry, I was trying
30
so hard to
seconds.
remember your name.
Yes, my name's Annette Perez, and I am in San Benito County, and I am really glad that you guys are looking at this drainage issue. Where I walk in my neighborhood, I see so many homes that are flooded in lots of places. And also our neighbors, because of the way it's built, are getting flooded in their home. So I'm really glad you're looking at this, and I hope that you'll improve it, and we'll keep looking more and more at fixing these issues and making developers do a better job at drainage. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any other comments in chambers or via Zoom.
Thank you. Okay. Discussion within the commission?
No, I think I have what I want.
Okay. All right.
I'm happy with the 500 year and the deeper and larger ponds, but did we miss the well, the perk well? What was that?
Yeah, if you go back to the second slide, please, Stephanie.
Is that a requirement over us? How does that come into play if the soil won't perk? Is there a way to say, okay, well, then you're going to have a well of this size and this depth, and you're going to make it perk instead of just saying, oh, well, you can flood the neighboring residents?
Correct. So I apologize if I missed it, but I was trying to mention that discussion in addition to water quality, which was another item that we were going to discuss. Those two items I think we should tackle at the same time at the next meeting because it's a bigger, larger, a little more complicated discussion for the perk wells and water quality. But we didn't forget. We just postponed it to the next.
Okay.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this being an informational presentation, I don't believe that there's a motion that we need to make on this, correct?
Just a consensus.
Okay,
And I
just
think,
consensus.
I think we're all there.
Yep.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 9, commissioner announcements. I'm going to go first on this one just because I want to adjust something here. In addition to the normal commissioner announcements, going forward from tonight, we're going to also use this as an opportunity to discuss future agenda items. And I know that Commissioner Gibson in particular wants to talk about a future agenda item. So I'm going to give him an opportunity to do that as part of his commissioner announcement tonight. Beyond that, I don't have any commissioner announcements per se. So I'll yield the floor to him for that purpose.
Thank you. So my announcement is I would like a presentation on where we are as a county with the Rule 20 discussion along Enterprise and Southside. I just don't want to see the ball dropped like we did with Riverview 2. I'm disappointed every time I drive by it, which is every day. Thank you.
Additional announcements? Anybody? Yes?
Yes, I attended the ag thing yesterday. I can't think of the name of it right now. And it's still going back to more planning, more talk. We didn't come to any kind of a consensus yesterday.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ringhayden, Commissioner Thomason?
I have nothing.
Okay, thank you. Then moving on to perhaps the most important item on our docket tonight, adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned at 8:26 p.m. Thank you very much.